Racita, aquí estamos en una entrevista muy emocionante con Andrew de Skale Network Build Different. En este video les vamos a enseñar qué es Skale Network, cómo hacer marketing dentro de cripto. Pues cripto es el lugar donde se compite, es la competencia más difícil en todo el mundo. Entonces vamos a empezar. Hi Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing good. Actually, a little bit tired of all the trip, but
Yeah, it's been a busy one. I agree.
how is it permissionless? Like, you
I
like
think,
it?
yeah, I like permissionless. I've been to, I would say, almost every major crypto conference. Like, when I look at permissionless, I would say it's really good for folks that are looking to raise. Like, there's a lot of institutions and funds here, a lot of project founders. So you're getting to hear firsthand from a lot of leaders, which is rare. But overall, I would say quality of the conference is really good.
Quality
Yeah.
here in permissionless
Yeah.
is good. Like this year, I went into Denver, which was nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Consensus. I didn't like consensus that much. It was like too institutional, too very XRP, very banks, and things that are not like very crypto related to me.
Sure, sure.
But here in permissionless is like the topics of the panels, like
Yeah.
the talks. The quality of the people is very important. It's not like an immense event, but you can know very important people. Like sometimes I see characters. Oh, he's the founder of Synthetics.
Yep.
And founder of CMO of Orca that we just interviewed.
Yep.
And now CMO, right? Or-
Chief Marketing and Growth Officer. Yeah.
Oh, growth also.
Yeah.
So what is like to do that on Skale Network?
It's really exciting. I mean, I think for me, quick background, I've been in crypto for about 3 years. I was the first CMO of Arbitrum, then I was the Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer of a cross-chain aggregator. And so I tend to have a lot of options. I think I had about 50 projects reach out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and most of the big chains that you would know. And I think for me, I'm older. I'm in my 40s. I was a Web 2 VC. I've invested in traditional Web 2 businesses.
Web 2 VC?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I still do actually. I invest in female-founded direct-to-consumer businesses, and then before that, worked at Amazon headquarters. So for me, I'm much more used to, I think, a little bit of the Web 2 framework. Founders that oftentimes are experienced. Maybe they've already
What
built
makes
a company.
money actually? Or-
Exactly, and so with Scale, it's been really nice because it's just, I think for me, I've worked with probably north of 300 projects to date. It's just very different. We'll talk about it, but Jack, who's the CEO, I mean, he's built and sold 2 SaaS companies. He's a Silicon Valley guy. Sold one to Motorola. Stan, who's our CTO, actually developed cryptography for public Wi-Fi before crypto existed. He also built like the Java virtual machine back in the day. So it's been really nice working with what I would call like very experienced founders that also have very solid business experience.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah.
And also, I saw your LinkedIn profile, and you told me that you work in Televisa a little bit, and people here
Yeah.
are like know Televisa very
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
a little bit of context about that, or
Yeah. So the beginning of my career, I was actually a talent agent. So I worked at a company called Creative Artists Agency, and I represented like the 1% of Hollywood. But I wouldn't, for example, like get them their next TV deal or get them their next music tour. It was more, working with big brands and big tech companies to kind of bridge the gap. And so fast forward, I worked at NBC Universal, where I worked, very closely with Telemundo for a number of years. And then when I went to Amazon, I was the global head of entertainment and culture. And so I was doing, unique marketing in a lot of different regions. And so I used to fly down to Mexico City quite a bit to do partnerships with various television shows with Televisa. Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to connecting the dots on how are you like marketing and growth at Scale Network. So Scale Network, from my senses, is like they're focusing on like the storytelling, like to have that story out like very easy to digest for people. Not so much for DJs, or how do you think it's like the strategy?
Yeah, I mean, so the way we talk about Scale Network is we say we're the gas-free invisible blockchain, right? And I think the way that I look
Invisible is a great word.
and it really is, and I'll give you like the example, but the way I look at it is, when I started in crypto, I think we had, maybe 4% on chain. I think the latest number that I heard, we're at like 6.5%. 2025, they're predicting 8% of the world's population is on chain, right?
Okay.
So I look at that and go, as a marketer, I can continue to compete over, that percentage with everyone else, or I can go out there and try to help bring the 92% on chain, right? And I think one big reason I chose Scale was to date, being the CMO of a roll-up or even prior to that, worked very close with Solana, you still have a lot of friction with crypto, right? Because the average person, if you think about it, first they need to understand the basics. Then they need to set up a hot wallet or a cold wallet, right? They need to learn how to put tokens on the wallet to cover gas fees. They've got to understand bridging, and then
it's a lot of steps.
It's a lot of steps, and even you connect a wallet, and now you've got to process transactions, and there's a lot of bad actors out there. But with Skale, it's very different. Like, I'll give you an example. So right now we have 4 video games on the Epic Game Store, right? You can go to Epic, you can download these games. I'll give you some examples. You can just start playing them. And you don't even realize that they're blockchain or crypto games. So while you love these games and you play them on Epic, you're actually processing transactions on the blockchain behind the scenes, right? So example being, we have a couple FPS games like Stray Shot and Haven's Compass, where you just go on there, you're like, I love first-person shooter games, I like this game, I'm just gonna play it, and you don't have to go through any of those steps, right?
But what's the value prop of having like transactional, like maybe like when you win a match, or you having the assets as NFTs, like the weapons, or
exactly.
What?
So when you're playing the game, for example, let's say you beat level 1 and your reward is you've unlocked this custom skin for your gun, right? Then what you can do is you can go to the website of the game and set up a wallet and connect it, and then it'll register, with your play in the Epic Game Store, and now you can own that asset, you can trade that asset, maybe the value of that asset increases or decreases over time. So the way I look at it as, if you're just a traditional gamer, you could still come into crypto, love the game, and then start to say, well, wait a second, I didn't know that I could own the assets in my game. I'm going to dive deeper, or sell it, right? Exactly. And the other thing that I like about it is, gas-free really opens up, I think, the opportunity to everyone. Like, a big reason I came into crypto for me, a lot of founders and stuff, they come in and I want to make a bag. For me, it was like, I want to raise up, it's true, it's very true. For me, it was like, I want to raise up the 99%. Like, I grew up, fairly poor.
I want that challenge.
Yeah.
I want to play that game. Yeah.
You should play it, yeah. And so the way I look at it is, when I've worked with Ethereum and all these different folks, a lot of folks in North America are like, oh, gas fees, they're only a few cents. But the second that, everything starts surging, even on a layer 2, those gas fees can go up significantly.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends in emerging countries, will reach out to me and sometimes say, hey, could you send me $5 to cover these gas fees, right? And it's a barrier for them. Like, it's preventing them from experiencing blockchain or gaining the benefits of blockchain technology. And so, great example, like, we just launched a platform called Swell. You just go to swell.scale, skale.space, and we've built the first ever gas-free questing platform, right? So if you're into questing and you like learning about blockchain or experimenting on chain, you can go there once a month and do these quests for 0 gas fees, right? Versus, let's say all of a sudden, prices are surging on mainnet, you go to a traditional questing site, you might rack up $5, $10 in gas fees that day just to learn crypto and just to experiment on chain. So I think for me, like, I like this democratization of crypto. I like the fact that Skale can be accessible to everyone, not just high net worth individuals. Yeah.
2 things there. One, like, on the past, I was a network engineer, and I was like studying protocols. And we never learned about the previous protocols. We just like, we were told a story like, there's this thing called frame relay, or protocols like really old. Yeah. And suddenly, like, all the technology scaled until you have like a lot of bandwidth. The speed of the data like can travel. It's just faster, and you cannot look back. So it's the same here in crypto. Like, that's why I was bullish in my early months, like things like, let's say, Solana, because it's just faster. Like, I don't have. When I started in crypto, like, I barely had like $1,000, so why I should spend like $50 on a transaction? Like, it doesn't make sense. And
doesn't make sense.
Very OG crypto guys, like, you don't have money to cover the gas. That's stupid.
It's so arrogant. It's so arrogant.
Yeah, that's arrogant. And so that's one thing. The other one is like, I really like that you took the difficult path of, it's difficult because it's a lot of people that 92% like of people that are not into crypto. Because I did that with my personal YouTube channel. Like, there was some type like, okay, only crypto degens. And I hired a producer, and he told me, like, we need to tackle the people that are not in crypto.
Yes.
And it's way way more hard.
It's way more difficult.
Way more hard.
Way more difficult.
Yeah. And right now I'm back on the DJing content, so I admire that. So
like, I'll give you a piece of alpha. Like, so I've been at Skale now for about 6 months, and one of the things I love about Skale is, like, when I worked at Amazon headquarters, I worked with developers, right? So I speak the language and I work really well with them. And what I found in crypto to date is a lot of projects, like, they silo the engineering team off, they silo the devs off, right? And it's like, marketing, do your thing. And I've always felt like really good marketing is an integration of both marketing and product, right? And I'll give you like kind of 2 examples. But for me, the first thing that I said was, we are this incredibly accessible blockchain for everyone, right? We need to make sure that everything we do is accessible, right? And so one example is we just revamped our entire ecosystem, right? So now when you go in there, we've basically simplified everything for you. So case in point, if you go to Skale and you go to the Skale portal and you click on ecosystem, there's now this multi-tiered filtering system, right? Okay. So I'll give you a great example. Like, in a lot of countries that I used to work in, they were mobile first countries. Like, folks had cell phones before they had TVs and PCs, right? They would go to the internet cafe or they would go watch TV at the local bar, right? And so for me, it's like, number one, I need to make sure that my website is optimized for mobile, because some of those folks even today may be coming in through a phone, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right? And so what we do with the ecosystem that's very cool is you basically log in with, a wallet, Wallet Connect, Rabby, MetaMask, Coinbase wallet, all of them, right? Because we want it accessible. And then what's cool is we have this multi-tiered filtering system, right? So you could go in there and say, I'm interested in games, right? You click games, but then you say, you know what, I really like first-person shooter games, so I want games, first-person shooter. But then you could also say, you know what, I have a phone, I don't have a PC, so I really just want FPS games on mobile, and you can click that. So now the next thing that happens, you've found the perfect game for you, and you can heart it, right? And then let's say you go through there and you say, okay, I'm also interested in AI, because we have a lot of AI projects. And then you go in there and you heart the AI project. Now, every time you log into Skale, it's a dashboard of all your favorite dApps, right? And then based on what you favorited, we're building out, it hasn't launched yet, a Netflix style recommendation engine, right? So fast forward, I think right now we have something like 200 dApps waiting to deploy. Let's say all of a sudden 2 more mobile FPS games come out. Well, what happens when you log into your dashboard? It quickly shows you, hey, based on the fact that you love this game, you're probably gonna love this game. Now you try that game out, maybe you like the game better, or now you're supporting another developer team, right? Just removing the friction,
Make it easier, yeah.
Make it easier, and also just, make all of the terminology normally accessible, right? Because like, one thing I learned when I worked at a DEX was, we were like MEV free, MEV protection. And I was like, I don't even think degens understand MEV.
Even me, like recently, I was like 2 days studying MEV because I didn't understand that.
Exactly.
And I'm a crypto native.
And by the way, even when you were learning it, I'm sure you had the experience that I did. The first time I was learning it, like, it's very complicated, right? And so, case in point, what I always say to folks, like, if you're new to crypto, go into ChatGPT and type things like, explain MEV to me like I'm 5 years old, and then it produces an analogy that anyone can understand. So example there, if I'm out there trying to educate people, I'm like, let me use analogies and stories that are relatable, because otherwise it's going to take 3 times as long for someone to understand it, Or another example, I'll give you a little alpha. Another
Sure.
example, like, when you come to, I think, any protocol website, it's not built in a way that's fully intuitive, right? You've got a bridge, you've got to do all these different things. And so we're actually going to launch very, very soon a get started page for Skale. So let's say you're brand new to crypto, right? You've never touched anything in your life. You can go to this page. The first thing it does, it explains, like, what is Skale? It talks about the difference between hub chains and app chains, right? But then the next section, it says, first off, how do you add chains to your wallet? Because we have a number of different chains.
And why you should do it? Or
why would you do it? What's the benefit of it, right? Then we get into, how do you add S-Fuel, which is basically our valueless gas token, right? Hence we're free. How do you add that to your wallet? Or when you bridge to a chain, did you know that it's automatically added to your wallet, right? Things like that. And then we talk about things like, bridging between the different chains. Why would you do it? What's the benefit of it? And so the idea here is, if you're brand new to crypto, you can start at the top of this page. By the time you're done, you've set up a wallet, you've added the chains, you've added, the fake gas token, you know how to operate across the different chains, but it also can become a reference that you bookmark where you might say, man, I forgot how to add chains to my wallet. Well, just go to Skale and repeat the process, But that's what I'm talking about. It's like, how do I make it so that my mother can go on there and then get into crypto as easily as possible, right?
Yeah, it's a hard problem, and from all of these, like, it's when you enter the website. But I think when someone enters your website, has to have some interest in Scale Network. So
Yes.
the way to onboard those 92%, it's more like your games, right? Or
Yeah, so for us, like,
because I see it.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
Yeah.
I see it hard, like entering the application, see all the here's the AI stuff, here are the games. Because why should I enter Scale in the first place, though? So that's what I'm trying to
Yes.
puzzle it.
It's a great question. So I've been the CMO of 2 blockchains, Arbitrum, now Scale. And my POV is, at Scale, like, we are infrastructure, right? So, we talk about the fact that we're a consumer chain, but when we say that, what we mean is that the dApps being built on us are for consumers, right? And we are built in a way to support both those dApps and the potential growth of those dApps. So I'll explain. So we are technically a general purpose blockchain, right? Or blockchain network, I should say, because we have numerous chains. What that means, for anyone that doesn't know, is general purpose means anyone can build on you in any type of crypto, right? But we have a unique value proposition. So what that is we're high throughput, right? So what high throughput means is if you're going to build a dApp, right, and you're looking at, again, that 92%, right? And let's say you're a game. Today, you might launch a game and get 10,000 players, right? Because you're like, I'm tapping into the degens, I'm tapping into the natives, right? But again, if you talk about this frictionless experience, you might say, well, you know what? Like, because I'm going to be on the Epic Game Store and you don't even have to connect a wallet, maybe I could have 1 million gamers in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is most chains are not high throughput. And I've seen this happen before. Like, I'm not going to name names, but like, I'll give you an example. Like, I saw a tournament for a game on a chain that wasn't high throughput, and it blew up. People got really excited about the game, and there was a tournament, and the tournament crashed. And the reason it crashed was because congestion issues happened because it wasn't high throughput. It wasn't built to withstand that volume, right? So for us, all of our chains are high throughput, right? So when you think about high throughput, again, even though we're GP, I come from tech, I'm like, there's certain types of dApps that effectively are going to need to process more transactions than other types of dApps, right? And those are gaming, I would say AI, right? Like, people don't realize I used to work at Amazon in AI. When you're using an AI product in crypto, it's processing millions of transactions, right? Because of all the data processing. And then the third would be social. Funny enough, I brought celebrities onto Facebook back in the day. That's how old I am.
Oh, really?
Yep, exactly. But again, building a social dApp is very technical and complicated. But again, if you think about Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, all those interactions ultimately can become transactions, right? And so if you build those things on a non-high throughput chain, and then all of a sudden your user base scales, you're going to have congestion issues, gas fee issues, latency issues, all these things, right? And so I would say for us, that's really kind of our bread and butter right now. And so to your point, for me, when it comes to gaming, it's really more about, hey, we have real games built by gaming studios in Web 2 that see the opportunity in Web 3 that aren't maybe as nervous about regulation because they're not Activision or Epic. And so they're saying, let's experiment, let's start building this space, right? And so as a result, a lot of our games are what are bringing in all of these users. And then to my point earlier with the ecosystem, they then start to experiment and scale, and they say, man, there's all these great games here. I'm going to play these other games. I'm going to earn rewards. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one because I was thinking, I made a research last year in the GameFi state in crypto.
Yeah.
And I was like, why Epic Games would even bother to use blockchains?
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing this opportunity that you are already working on it, that you can choose games that are not as big as Fortnite, let's say, but need to compete somehow.
Yeah.
And that's also part of the human connections part. Like, I'm a small game, but I can have a community.
Yeah.
And die-hard fans.
And I can incentivize my community because, like, one thing I've noticed, I used to represent celebrities and then I represented influencers. But, let's take, for example, a YouTube gamer, right? So you might say, I'm in my 40s, back in the day, it was like, I love video games, I'm going to go work for Activision, right? In today, with the creator economy, you could say, I love video games, I'm going to launch a Twitch channel or I'm going to launch a YouTube channel, right? And I'm going to play games and I'm going to talk about games and I'm going to run ads and that's going to become my career, right? And so the challenge becomes, I'll give you a great example. Let's say you play GTA for 29 hours and you unlock some very exclusive item or skin. Well, you don't actually own and control that, right?
No.
Right? And so I think, the way I look at gaming, and I've worked with all the big gaming studios, is if that's your job, a creator in the gaming space, and you're putting in, again, 29 hours of work, well, why shouldn't you own the success of your work, right?
Of course, yeah.
And so to your point, when we look at things like Epic, and I do believe this is what's going to happen long term, I think it's smart because Epic's basically saying, if these are playable games, why wouldn't we feature them here? And then I wouldn't be surprised if down the road, Epic creates a marketplace for all the assets of all these games, right? So great example, it's actually one of the most wish-listed games on the Epic Game Store right now. It's called Last Remains. It's a zombie extraction game.
Yeah.
It looks incredible, yeah. And so basically with that, case in point, you come in, you start playing that game, you start earning those rewards and you own and control them. And down the road, let's say Epic launches a marketplace, take Stray Shot again, you earn rewards there. Well, now they've got a marketplace where you could sell those items to other players on Epic, which again would remove maybe some of the friction of blockchain today, right? So like looking ahead, yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
One thing I'm like kind of angry
Yeah.
is that I only play one game since like 2018.
Okay.
It's Rocket League.
Yeah, of course, I love Rocket League. Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah, it's the only game I play.
It's a fun game.
Actually, I'm not into like this part of the car, the wheels, but there's people out there that are doing more trading of the items than the playing the itself game. So
Yep.
I think that's the opportunity to get to a game thinking, okay, we're not just like entertainment. We are like an infrastructure of trading.
Yes.
So that's why I'm bullish, not also only on gaming, but also on SocialFi. Like Friendtech didn't like work out, but I'm still thinking that there's something there that people want to speculate.
Yeah.
Even entertainment, like I think like we're going to in the movies, we're going to see movies probably like, oh, do you think this character is going to be a billion at the end? You want to bet on that? Like, I don't know. Like we're like chimpanzees that want to bet. We cannot like deny that.
Yeah.
So.
Or I'll give you a great example. Like, actually, let me go back to what you were saying. So, my career, like I've worked in emerging technology, for about 20 years. I worked in digital when it first started, social when it first started, AI, machine learning, all these different areas, autonomous vehicles.
Metaverse.
Yep, metaverse, all of them, right? Because when I was in Hollywood, that's my job. I was like the intersection of, Silicon Valley in Hollywood and Madison Avenue in Hollywood. And I think like one of the questions I get asked the most is like, what's going to drive mass adoption, right? I do think regulation clarity will bring in a lot more Web 2 companies that can help it scale quickly, but let's just put that to the side. Like in today, I really think there's two different types of things. It's either going to be gaming or it's going to be social, and I'll explain, right? So with gaming, the best example I could give is like Stardew Valley, right? Which is like a farming game, right? That was an indie game that just became a breakout success. So like everyone I know has played Stardew Valley, right? That wasn't created by Activision or Epic. It was created by a small group of developers. I think in crypto today, now that we have these smaller studios coming in, we could get a breakout game, and then that becomes #1 on Epic, right? Or even #1 on Steam. And now all of a sudden, millions of people are playing this game, and they're slowly coming into crypto, right? That could very likely happen. The second is with social. I worked like directly with the Zuckerbergs when Facebook launched, right? I worked with BizStone was our client when Twitter launched, right? So I saw for all these platforms, like how quickly social platforms can grow with users. I think part of the problem, if you look at things like Friendtech, is it's not really a social platform. It's a social fi platform, right? But if we think about it from a standpoint of like data protection and privacy, like I'll give you a great example. So if you're on Instagram, for example, you can go into your app and you can find it. It's hard to find. There's a very, very robust data profile on you and your interests, right? And then traditional Web 2 brands basically spend billions of dollars a year to target you based on that information, your personal data, right? So fast forward, forget SocialFi. Imagine someone builds a social dApp where they basically say, here's your data profile, right? And then let's say you're into video games, right? Then Activision comes and says, we want to market to that person, right? We think that person's going to like our games. And then you get a pop-up on your dApp that says, are you willing to accept ads from Activision? Yes, right? And let's say every time you see that ad, in their minds, it's worth 10 cents. Well, now one, you're only getting ads from companies that you like because you own and control your own data. you're getting rev share in that. Like that is such a no-brainer to me, right?
Of course,
So
yeah.
when that type of thing launches, I could easily see with privacy concerns on Web 2 social, millions of people on board within a year, you know? So I still think those are the two areas where we're probably most likely to see mass adoption. And so when I went back and said like I had 50 offers of companies to go to, one of the reasons I chose Skale was if I in my heart believe those are the two things that are going to drive mass adoption, I want to go to a chain that is the perfect home for that, right? So
it has the vision.
Has the vision, right? So in gaming, we're the #1 gaming chain. We have over 320,000 active gamers right now, right? A lot of them are traditional gamers coming in through Epic, right? Really interesting, right? And then in AI, I think right now we have 18 AI dApps and we've got maybe another 10 waiting to deploy. So it's exactly what I said. It's like AI and gaming need high throughput. They choose Skale.
AI dApps that do what? Like?
Yeah, so it really depends, but like the one that I would check out that's really cool is called Exord, EXORDE.
Okay.
But a lot of times the way they operate is they might be similar to like a ChatGPT type product, but then the data is decentralized on the back end. And let me explain why that's important. So, because I used to work in AI, let's take OpenAI. So when OpenAI first blew up, I think everyone was like, this is incredible, this is exciting. I was concerned, and I'm an AI guy, and let me give you the example of why I was concerned, and then let me give you an example of why decentralized data for AI is so important. So a lot of people started using it to analyze things, right? So if you go back to Web 2, WebMD, I've got a cough, I've got this lump in my throat, I'm gonna self-diagnose, right? And so there are a lot of people that have gone onto OpenAI and put in what I would call very sensitive personal information, right? Like sleep patterns or diseases they have or things like that, right? And so when OpenAI got hacked, it's centralized. All that data's in one place. So someone hacks OpenAI, they've got access to that data. So think about it. Let's say you have cancer and you don't want other people to know, and now all of a sudden that data gets leaked. They could sell that data to a pharmaceutical company and monetize you. They could publish that data online and all of a sudden your secret is public. Like that's not good, right? So with decentralized data, the way to think about it is, you're doing the same thing you would do on ChatGPT, but that data is getting broken apart into many pieces, right? And so instead of being able to go in there and hack millions of people's personal health history and information, maybe they're able to hack this one little thing and they get one question you've asked instead of the 10,000 questions and follow-up questions and data points and all that, right? So I think that that's really important. And the other thing I'm seeing is, there are a lot of folks that are building what's called AI agents. And what that means is, let's use conferences as an example, right? So you're staying at a hotel here, right? Imagine, for example, and this is a Hyatt, right? So imagine that you've gone to 10 conferences this year and you've stayed at Hyatts, right? Now it's got all that data on you, right? And let's say you're reviewing them or rating them. So now what would happen is the next year, the travel company might anticipate that you're going to be back in Salt Lake City in this month, right? And they're recommending the perfect hotel room for you. And they know your price preferences. They might know the color of the wall. They might know the year the hotel was made. And instantly you have a personal assistant that is effectively matching you to the optimal choice for you and taking away all the work, right?
Yeah.
And so these AI agents, you're going to see them in every industry. You're going to see them in customer service, fashion, hotels, all of that. And so AI agents is another area that I see more of a B2B AI product, but lots of both Web 2 and Web 3 businesses, you're going to start to see AI agents associated with them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having like a different paths of where we are going.
I
mean, it's your job for 20 years, but it's quite interesting.
It's very interesting.
I have like 2 questions.
Yeah.
Like, let's focusing on a little bit into crypto on these ones.
Sure.
Because our audience is like our crypto savvy, so it's something really interesting for me. It's to talk with people from marketing, people from growth. Also, like when you say growth, like I think you're one of my guys that know that funnels are like that, and you need to think in growth loops.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
How you stay relevant versus all. Crypto is the most competitive market in the world. For me,
extremely
I guess.
competitive. Yeah.
How you compete with crypto without the part on what you said, like we're targeting the 92%. How you stay relevant in crypto Twitter, let's say, with the degens.
With the degens, yeah. So So, real talk, like I am a trader. I've been a trader for a number of years. And
like TA or just like
yeah, I do TA, but I would say in general, like I do a lot of different types of trading. I trade based on narratives. I trade based on TA. I have certain things I trade based on longer time horizons and potential adoption. I have a very diversified portfolio, which is not very common. Like most Degens that I talk to are like, I'm all in on these 10 tokens. I build these kind of mutual fund models where, case in point, they might have a token that goes parabolic, but for me, I might have a token that goes parabolic, another token that goes down, another token that goes up, a 5x. But consistently from a trading standpoint, I keep going up, right? And for me, I like that risk tolerance, right? Mm-hmm. Because meme coins, listen, I like meme coins, and I actually think that they're good for crypto for many reasons, but
they're not as profitable as people.
They're not. Like, I think if you look at like Pump Fun, I think they said like 97% of coins like tanked, right? So it's gambling,
yeah,
right?
You can. It's way less riskier to go to a casino and bet your house on blackjack. On one game, than to bet on meme coins, like 100 times even.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And so, case in point, like I've lived in the trenches for 3 years. I'm in all these alpha communities. I have all my friends that I've known for 3 years in crypto, and so I know what people want because like these are the same things I want, right? And so that's part of what I love about Skale is that like I can go to my developers and say I want to do this, and they'll build it for me. So I'll give you like 2 examples. So again, that Swell platform. I built that for 2 reasons.
It's a really fun job.
It's a really fun job, yeah. So I built it for 2 reasons. So the first reason was I wanted to educate people. I wanted to like help normies come into crypto and really learn, right? But I understand crypto. I understand that one of the most exciting first moments that I ever had was an airdrop. Right?
Of course.
Magic internet money, right? so with Swell, like I'll give you a great example of this is like good information of like what I'm doing.
Maybe there's an alpha that you can.
Oh, I'm gonna give you some good stuff. Yeah. So great example on Swell, right? So swell.scale.space. We have every single month all these new quests, right? And you are interacting with dApps and you're learning things. However, I also understand the fact that we have hundreds of dApps that are pre-TGE. Mm-hmm. Right? So you can go on Swell and let's say we have a featured section. There's a featured section on this game, right? And you're like, cool, I love gaming and I want to learn more about blockchain gaming. I'm going to go do those quests. Well, what did you just do? You just created real interactions with that product pre-TGE. Fast forward, TGE happens and they recognize that you are a real user and supporter of that project, right? Because that's what projects are trying to do is they're trying to say, let's reward the people that have been loyal users that have, supported us from the beginning, helped us identify, potential opportunities or flaws with our product, right? And so just by going on Swell and doing these quests every month, you're interacting with these pre-TGE dApps, and then let's say fast forward, 6 of these dApps have TGEs next year. Whoa, I didn't realize it, but just by using Swell, I qualified for all 6 of these. Magic internet money, right? Or another example, like I was talking about this before, you can go into our ecosystem and you can filter by pre-TG. You click a button and every single dApp that's pre-TG comes up. Let's say you're an airdrop farmer, you can then go heart all of those. You re-log in with your wallet, you now have a dashboard of all pre-TG dApps. And you're like, you know what, every week I work a lot, but I've got, maybe 4 hours on the weekend. I'm just gonna go see what's new in pre-TGE or I really like this one pre-TGE dApp, I'm gonna use it again. And guess what? You're now qualifying for more airdrops, right?
Yeah, what I like about that is like it doesn't sound as competitive as going to DeFi Llama and change protocols with no tokens because everyone does that. This is like a little bit more niche when you have more chances to be more lucrative, hopefully.
Exactly.
This was a really good talk. I have one last question.
Yeah.
If you, for some reason, you have the opportunity to talk with Satoshi Nakamoto.
Oh my gosh.
What would you say to him or her or it? Or what would you ask him?
That is a really good question. I think for me, like, listen, a lot of people in crypto, self-included, look at Bitcoin as like the perfect crypto, right? Yeah. And I love Bitcoin, but at the same time, I love what we're doing in the space. We're building the next deep web, basically, right? I think with Satoshi, like for me, it would be less an individual question and more to understand his thought process and understand his vision, Because I think one thing that I've noticed in crypto, and I'm sure you've noticed it as well, is now we have TradFi coming in, we have large institutions coming in, we're eventually going to have Web 2 businesses coming in. And my personal belief is that I don't think he created it to create Web 2 2.0, right? I think he created it to create, a better future for everyone, right? And I think as this industry's progressed, I do think there's a lot of founders that have lost the plot on why we're here, because I see a lot of folks building, chasing the bank, right? And again, we talked about this, I didn't come in for a bag. Listen, I would be thrilled if Skale skyrockets over time, but you and I talked about this offline, if I made that kind of money, I would probably invest in a lot of founders, because I meet a lot of founders where they have trouble raising from VCs. I'm also an advisor for a number of projects, but I would help continue to accelerate, I think, what the original vision of crypto was, right? So I think for me, it's a little bit I'll put it in a question form, what was your long-term vision? And then give me that vision in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, right? So that way, because I've been in crypto for 3 years, let's say I'm in crypto for 15 years, I'd be able to say to myself, is this industry progressing in that original vision? Or have we completely lost the plot and just repeated a system that was problematic to begin with?
Yeah, because right now, it doesn't look like a very Satoshi's vision on this meme coin craze, banks entering, it doesn't look like that. So
it doesn't. And I'll tell you something else that I've noticed is and I knew this would happen because it's happened in every emerging tech industry that I was in, but more Web 2 founders are entering that have, very incredible pedigrees in Web 2. And when I look at their marketing or I look at the tactics that they're doing, they remind me of what I was doing at places like Amazon or with traditional companies. And again, the way I market in crypto is very, very different from the way I used to market in Web 2. And I just worry that, again, not to say it's problematic to have the 98% come in, but again, let's bring the 98% into our original vision. Let's not replicate Web 2 to accommodate them or accommodate money making. And again, just go in the complete wrong direction, Yeah. And then last thing I'll say, one thing you asked me before is that the whole built different thing. So the biggest question I get is is Skale an L2? Is it an L1? And I think people ask that because we're fully EVM compatible, right? We're actually a modular network of alt1s, right? That has EVM compatibility. And so as a result, we look more, like that side, but we're accessible to that side, right? And that's why we're built different. Yeah.
That's nice, because sometimes we can even look more farther at our noses, it's an L1, it's an L2. Recently I was learning about BitTensor and I was having all these analogies between L1 and L2.
Yeah.
And I met some guys about BitTensor here.
Yeah.
And they were don't think in L2s of Ethereum. Build different, think differently.
Think differently, and I'll tell you my hard take on this, because I saw it over the past 3 years. It's a lot of people are just so focused on aligning themselves with the hotter popular narrative, right? So when I worked at an L2, it was L2s are the future, and so everyone was we need to reposition ourselves as an L2. And then I would argue right now there's a lot of FUD around L2s, right? And so anyone that hardcore positioned themselves, branded them as an L2 is now, right? Or right now, as you know, alt1s are on fire, right? So everybody's paying attention to all these alt1s, but a year from now, people could turn around and be oh, it's not about alt1s, it's about this. And so for me, it's I'd rather just embrace who we authentically are from day one, which is different from everybody else. Talk about why we were different from the start, because we did what we thought made sense and it's proving to be the right answer, and continue to be true to ourselves and gain mass adoption, then try to align and chase narratives purely to pump a token, Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I want to go further than just pump the VC investor bag. So we can make it better.
Low float, high FTVs.
Yeah. It was a great chat, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for being here in Espacio Cripto.
My pleasure. Yeah.